Well, hi, this is Chris and
Cindy.
and we're with you again, the Blooming Boomers, and we're talking about aging. And it struck me earlier today that we're talking about aging as if it was for other people, but
Yeah.
in fact it's for us, we're the old people.
Hey,
So-
I'm not so much about the weird.
Okay. So the fact is that when we're talking about this process of aging, obviously we are talking to ourselves. Both of
very
us
much
are
so.
boomers in that we were born in that period of time. So we're in our 60s, early 70s, as it were. And we're looking at, what it is that comes with this process of aging. And we've been talking about a number of things. So, Cindy, what's been on your mind this last week?
Actually, there was a post this morning asking about what your concerns are about your health when it comes to your business, strangely enough. And it made me think, it actually forced me to think, what is my actual fear? And the fact that I am still active in business, I realized my greatest fear there is that I am a solopreneur. So if I have to be hospitalized, and that's quite possible with the health issues that I am afflicted with.
Living with.
Yeah, there we
Living
go.
successfully with.
Surviving, thriving
with, yeah.
But my greatest fear is that if I get hospitalized, how do I generate an income?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just me.
Yeah.
There's nobody else to as my backup.
Yeah.
So that is kind of one of my concerns.
Yes, so we've been talking about fears. We talked about fear last week, and that is a major fear. And I think, for very many people, the kind of notion of working until you're 60 and retiring and sitting drinking tea and eating lemon cream biscuits. I do like lemon cream biscuits, actually.
I don't.
But be that as it may, that's long gone. I mean, the reality is not many people have been able to put enough money aside and invest it wisely enough, or their investments have been eroded by the stock market, well, particularly the last year, COVID, etc. So that people in our sort of age group, and obviously I'm slightly older than you, but in our sort of age group, retirement is not actually a reality, maybe a kind of a semi-retirement in that we're not working 8 to 5 jobs, but we are working.
Yeah.
We have to work to get some kind of income.
It's no longer an option to retire.
Yeah.
In many of our peers and our associates and our business associates, it's no option, not an option at all for them.
And I'd like to make a point about that, because not only is it, just not functionally realistic anymore because of the economies of scale and what's happened with income and what have you, but for many people, they don't want to.
Yeah, and
I don't want to retire.
I'm still active. You're active.
Yeah, I don't want to retire at all. Of course, I've slowed down, and that's cool. I don't mind that. I like to have a chance, put my feet up, sit in my chair and read my book at any time of the day if I choose to. But I would like to think that at other times of the day, I've had work.
Yes.
I'm coaching, I'm running workshops, whatever it might be. So I want to do that. I don't want to, I'm in no way ready to,
Close that chapter at all.
Yeah, stand around watering the garden in my pajamas or whatever retired people do. I don't know.
Absolutely not. No.
Okay, but there are the fears. And the fear that you mentioned there is, of course, getting sick. And with aging does come more medical challenges, as it were, in some cases more than others. So that is a reality. What does one do about that? I mean, you put that forward. What is there a solution?
And I mean, not everybody's got backup savings, and in my case, I don't have.
Yeah.
And what am I going to do? I actually have no clue. I have no clue.
It seems to me that one thing we have to do in our situation and those other people who might be in a similar situation, you've really got to work at keeping yourself healthy. This is very important. I know you're on a fasting kind of thing and that you're feeling a lot more energized as a result of that.
Yeah.
I'm very cautious about what I eat, which I certainly never used to be, 10, 20 years ago. I now think, well, okay, is this feeding my system? Is this building my immunity?
Healthy for me?
Is this healthy for me?
Yeah.
Is this helpful?
No, I agree. And exercise. You walk, I walk. I've got a little exercise regime that I do in the mornings.
Yeah.
So we're forced to work.
Yeah.
In my case and yours for that matter. And one of the things I said, I have no clue, but in retrospect, I realized that I'm constantly renewing my services I'm offering to make myself relevant. So yes, I suppose I am trying to keep abreast of what is happening in the world and offering different services.
Absolutely. I think that's essential. So, in fact, what you're doing is you're kind of redefining yourself all the time. You're trying to renew yourself wherever you can. You're looking after your body. You're looking after your mind. You are doing things that keep you on the younger side of aging.
For sure.
So that, in fact, you are contributing to longevity, to health. Because let's face it, we contribute to a state of health or a state of disease by not eating properly, not exercising, all these other things. Doing the opposite of that, getting exercise on a daily basis. I don't think I could survive without walking every day.
Yeah.
I've got to get out in the mornings, get into the light, hopefully the
sunshine.
Yes, the sunshine.
Winter's coming, Cape Town.
Yeah, exactly. But get out there and exercise and walk and then read and listen and do things that I believe keep me more energized and keep me younger.
I was speaking to a friend yesterday, and she actually said to me that she doesn't feel motivated to get out there. She wants to lose a few kilos, she wants to feel healthier, but she cannot motivate herself. And I think, and I believe, because it also happened with me to a degree, with COVID happening, I lost my momentum and I just couldn't get it back. I had to really, really focus and say to myself, right, this week you're actually going to do this week you're going to do that. And once I got started, I've done 4 modules for my new course that I'm going to be presenting. I did it in 3 days.
You see, I think this is what you're saying here is critical. You've got to actually. There's a great quote, and I can't think of it exactly now, but it's something like motivation. Is not. You are not necessarily combustible. You have to set yourself on fire. And I think that is so true. And that's what happened. Many people lost their momentum. Many businesses lost their momentum during this past year, COVID-19, and what we've been through. In fact, I happen to be chairman of the central chapter of the Cape Chamber, and we had a networking Zoom session, which there were about 40 people or so just last week. And this came up. And in fact, our theme for the year is getting back on the horse.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, the horse has thrown you off. You really don't want to do that thing anymore. No. You're scared of that horse. You're not even sure how to get back on the thing. The reality is we don't have an option.
No.
You've got to get back on the horse. You've got to motivate yourself and take whatever other motivation around you can to help yourself get going again.
The other thing is I find that people that are more mature find it even more difficult than what the younger group of people do. And again, having said that, surround yourself with people that are actually going to support you and encourage you and say, come on, get onto this, get onto the I'm going to phone you tomorrow at 9 o'clock and check that you've gone to gym. Find somebody that you can have that connection with. I mean, like us with doing this. We couldn't do last week, but I phoned and said, right, okay, where are we last week? And this week, I know he had a guilt trip. So he phoned me and yesterday and said, when are we going to do this? He's got other things going on this week. I said, tomorrow. Here we are. Cool. So you've got to actually take everything by the ding-dongs and
I think horns is a suitable word. Take the bull by the horns. The horns of the dilemma. Take the bull by the horns of the dilemma and ride that bull. Because, no, you're right. You've got to make the decisions. Otherwise, it's too easy to let things kind of float. And eventually they float down the river. They disappear. You see them disappearing around the corner. So the reality is that if we're going to just wind up here, what we're saying is part of this process of getting older, you lose some of your bouncing back ability, you lose various things, but you actually have to put things in place. You've got to get up and get going. You've got to try and find the motivation through self-talk and through other people and other avenues.
And then just a little bit on that. What actually gets you up? that is what people are going to ask. What gets you up? Mine is to pay the rent and feed myself. So, you've got to have some sort of motivation. What is motivating you?
This is a very good point. I had a friend years ago, I'm talking about when I was in my 20s, and he was a guy who he had great dreams of getting into radio. He had a wonderful voice. And before he could begin to achieve all of those dreams, he had to pay the rent. And he began working as a sales rep.
Yes.
And he hated it. He hated it. But he had a company car, just a little run-around Golf, and he printed out a piece of paper that he put on his dashboard that said, "Good morning. You will earn 5,000 Rand this month. Keep going."
Yeah.
Now, whether it was 5,000 Rand,
Whatever.
10,000 Rand,
Yeah.
whatever it was, 50,000 Rand. At the time, it was a good salary. And that was his motivation. He got in that car, not feeling like visiting this next client and doing the sales thing, looked at the signal that said, "Listen, you are earning money through this." The reality is, if we do the things we have to do, very often they provide us with the motivation and the enjoyment of doing those things.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So that's us for this week. Chris and
Cindy.
That's right, I forgot her name from Cindy. Chris and Cindy, and we're talking aging and what to do about just hanging in there and living a really full, energized, complete life as long as you possibly can. We'll see you next week.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Bye.